Hello guys, I'm going to do a short video on randomness, and here we go. Alright, so people think of random things as just things that come out of nowhere, but what I truly believe is that they're actually one of the most identifiable and generatable, if you will, of things. So let's take a random number. Let's take the number 130. Okay, so you could just come up with a number in your head, but in truth, chemicals in your brain cause you to interpret your surroundings into a sphere of perception, which you call your thoughts. And because of a certain chemical alignment, the chemicals just searched through your memory and identified a number because you requested a number with no other bounds or maximums or minimums on it. So now that number there came from your brain, and if you could interpret every level of the brain's chemical structure and the electricity going through your brain, you could actually predict the number milliseconds before it came into your mind. Which brings me to a point about random numbers. They're algorithmically generated. What number is not expected? A random number is truly something. The random number 1 would not be considered a random number because it's too predictable as a number. But in the context of a random number, it's so inconceivable that the number 1 would be a random number that if your brain generates 1, your brain immediately rejects it as a random number because of its conceivability as a normal, everyday number. So it doesn't appear random. Randomness is a complete illusion. Randomness is the idea that something does not fit an algorithmic perception of being a number that we expect. It's really an unexpected number, not a random number. And thus, you come to a point where you say, okay, if it's the idea of not being expected, then can you generate a number which you know will be perceived as random even though you algorithmically generated it, and then generate another one based on that random, I say with bunny quotes, that random number is used as a base of the next random number. It would appear to not be algorithmically generated or have any kind of base, that it's just completely random, when in truth it was actually a carefully calculated number. Now, saying that, really you could predict any kind of perception of the mind by analyzing your brain electrically, and because I believe your brain has different spheres of perception, some which don't come into the cloud of perception which we call our thought. There are background threads, if you will, if you know about how computers work. There are background threads which are monitoring surroundings based on biological sensors that are built into our bodies, which tell us about our surroundings. They say, okay, this silver object in front of you. You'll recall other silver objects, and when thought of a random number, oftentimes that random number will actually be based on the situation in your memory, which involves another similar object or similar surroundings. Because your memory, your thoughts are jogged constantly, and constantly manipulated and changed by your surroundings and by your current perception, which then you think of happiness or sadness, how that influences randomness, when it really doesn't, and that just contradicts itself, saying that happiness could ultimately be virtually measured by an amount of serotonin that is being dispensed into your brain based on your surroundings and biological built-in calculations which say, okay, this surrounding is favorable, your current conditions are favorable, future, or not future, but near future conditions are optimal, and biologically you will live. So that is my theory on randomness. Expect more of poor Richard's ramblings, as you can tell, in the near future. Have a nice day.